Well, welcome everybody to the Legacy Lounge. I'm Lady JB, the Pink Billionaire, and I'm super happy to be here with you because today, we're talking about legacy makers, we're talking about legacy impact, and we're talking about ways that you can build a legacy in your life. And why is that? Well, we all need to be thinking about legacy and how we can create legacy in our own lives so that we can leave something behind for the future generations. And I thought a lot about what does it mean to create legacy? And as a legacy maker, I love to teach and coach and train people on how to build their own legacies, but there are some fundamental steps behind that. There are some things that you can do specifically in your life to leave that legacy, to make that message, to really inspire people to want to take the next step in their lives. And I thought, well, what better way to teach you about building a legacy than to invite you to a show where it is filled with an amazing number of guests. Each and every week, we bring on somebody phenomenal. I like to call them my legend. And so you are here to meet somebody, and every week meet somebody where we are talking about how to build legacy. And we start out talking about what is legacy? What does legacy mean? And why should we be concerned about legacy? And then how can we do that for ourselves and others? Because, well, absolutely, when you build a legacy, you're thinking global, you're thinking international, you're thinking bigger than just yourself. Now, a legacy can be a school playground. A legacy can build a park bench with somebody's name on it. A legacy can be an after-school project. It can be any kind of things, right down to building a legacy with your kids and your family and the things that you stand for, your values, your principles, and your core mission. So legacy is actually a diverse amount of different things. It's not just one thing, but the aspiration and the desire to create a legacy really comes from within. And so today I've got a great guest sharing with you ways that you can create legacy. Now, we show up every Thursday on Traverse TV talking about legacy makers in the Legacy Lounge. And then we hop on over into our private community where we keep the conversation going. So for another hour after the show, our legends dive into even deeper concepts and more tips and strategies and tools that our listeners can really take part in and go into that masterminding and that executive coaching and the evolution of legacy. And we invite you to be a part of that. If you want to get a taste of our legends and then get to know them even deeper, come on over to legacylounge.life and find out how you can participate in our behind the scenes back show event, and also get to do some networking and some Q&A with our legends. Now, I love giving people access to powerful individuals, and this is really my way of showing you that you can get in the same room with people who are doing big things on the planet, and you can let them inspire you with just one idea and one opportunity and one possibility for you to take your idea and your legendary status to the next level. So if you'd like to know more about what we're doing in the Legacy Lounge after this show and all the legends that we're talking to, go on over to legacylounge.life and see what we are up to. All right, well, let me introduce our amazing legend. That's right. Val Jon Farris is an award-winning author and leadership consultant to Fortune 100 companies around the world. For over 30 years, he has championed large-scale workforce transformations as well as conducted personal growth programs for over 40,000 individuals. Val Jon is known for his very warm, fun, anecdotal style and deep insight into personal sovereignty, freedom, and absolutely the higher consciousness of each and every one of us. He is a best-selling author of The Traveler Within book and workbook series. Check that out on Amazon and find out more about what he's doing. But right now, welcome him to the show and be ready to get some legend training.
Hi, JV.
Happy to have you here and welcome. And such a joy to get some time with you. I know how busy your schedule is, so we are blessed that you are blessing us.
Well, you're worth it, and so is everybody else who's watching the show.
Well, thank you. This is a new concept. Obviously, the network said, what do you mean you want to do a show about legends and about legacy? What does that mean? And I think legends for me are really people who are leaving a lasting impression. I think people who are reminding people of what's possible. And I think having a legend status potentially by others, and then in your own idea, creating legacy is really a desired mission. I think people make the choice, a decision. I'm going to do something to leave a legacy. I'm going to do something to make an impact. That's my idea of legend and legacy. But for those people who are just joining us and for the network who is listening, what do you think is all about legends and legacy?
Yeah, well, I love your definition because it's expansive and it's inclusive. I think when I first came across this word of legacy, it had more of a narrow understanding and meaning to me before I checked it out and really looked for myself about, well, what is the definition of legacy? I love etymology and the study of words because the root of words really provides insight that you can't get without really digging down into, well, where did this word come from? And what does it really represent? And why did people utter it in the first place? So when I looked it up, the medieval Latin root, and I always hack up the pronunciation, but it's
I'm so glad. I'm like, okay, tell us what you learned.
but I think it's legatia, and it means ambassador or steward on a mission.
Mm.
And or on a commission, a charge, or a contract to be fulfilled. And when I read that, I said, yes, now I get what a legacy really is. And for me, it's about this contract. And the contract has three parts for me. The first part is consistently striving to stay out of my own way, to contract with myself, to get out of my own way, set my ego aside, so I can be of greatest service to other people. Number two is to constantly, no matter how much I think I know or how much work I do in the world, to constantly be a student of life and to share life's lessons in as humble and clear as a way as I possibly can. And particularly lessons about self-awareness and higher consciousness, because I believe those two faculties are key into creating legacies and also having legacies come alive into realities. And the third one, I think, is viewing life as a sacred gift, and that the human beings who get the opportunity to be alive, like you and I, and those who are watching this broadcast, that human beings are Earth's guardians in training. And I say in training because I don't think we've got it mastered yet to be guardians of Earth or guardians of the sacredness of life. So for me, those are the three things: staying out of my own way, constantly being a student, and seeing life as a sacred gift, and doing all I can to provide counsel and guidance, not only for myself, but for other people.
I love so much that you unpacked that and wrote and shared that, and I'm going to have my team write it down because it's so brilliant. And I want to say that nothing in there related to ego, related to market domination, related to, everybody knows my name and they're cheering my name at the top of their voice, and there's a red carpet for me when I show up at the airport. I mean, a lot of people do associate legacy with something that is self-centered or self-serving. And I'm with you 100%. And thank you so much for those, is because really that is really edifying, that this word is about doing something outside of ourselves for others. Really, number one is, how can we create a system, a process, a procedure that is going to help other people and create a legacy that will serve others. Nothing about that says serve ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yep, totally agree.
Now, number two was about being a student and being a good steward. I think is also because it's never necessarily that we get it right. It's perfect the first time, we swing the bat and hit the home run. It's really about learning the process, because I think to build a legacy, you have to go through all the ups and downs and trials and tribulations.
Yeah, a lot of people say, well, we've come to Earth to learn. Sometimes I have the thought that we've come to Earth to make mistakes, and because I've made my share, and but every time I've made a mistake, or at least most of the times, I've stopped and kind of relooked at, well, what was it that I did, or what did I not see that I can see now? What was I unaware of that I can be more aware of? So it's like using my own faults and my own foibles, I don't know if that's a word, but using my own unconsciousness and errors in order to better myself. And then the other aspect of it that I found that's been a very peace-giving kind of process for me, because I've done a lot of large-scale keynotes in a lot of places in the world, and they can be terrifying, particularly in other countries when you don't speak the language and you're in front of 1,000 people. And I think the thing that has provided me peace over the years in doing large-scale projects and keynotes is that it's all right to make mistakes and to actually use the mistake as a way to create more relationship with people. And I've done it right on stage. One time in India, and this reminds me of a movie I saw, but it actually happened. I was in the bathroom relieving myself, and I left the wireless microphone on, and I was doing this presentation for 800 Indian technical engineers in Bangalore, and the staff manager came running into the bathroom going, "Oh, Mr. Farris, you've just made a terrible mistake. You must turn off your microphone immediately." And
you had like a great segue into the next part of your talk, right?
Yeah, I went up on stage, and everybody in India was like looking at me like this, not saying a word. And I said, and what do you do? So I said, well, it's a little embarrassing, a lot embarrassing, but now that we know one another, we can really get to work. Everybody burst into laughter, and it created more positive momentum than if I would have hidden the mistake.
Yes. And again, what's so great is it's not luck. It's not luck of the draw that you got to be in that room with 800 people speaking on that stage. Legacy is not about those people who are lucky, because sometimes people think, oh, they're just so lucky they got that, they were given that, they've been lucky. It really, I think legacy is so focused, and it's such a commitment, because you could have ran the other direction and never got back on stage after that moment, but you took that and you parlayed it into an opportunity to connect with people, be closer to them, be more human, be more real, and allow those people to feel like they're closer to you, instead of you're way up there and they're down here and you're on stage and they're in the aisles and they can't get connected to you. I think that is a big part of legacy, is this community feeling.
Yeah, and I always, it's an ongoing process, because it's not easy to intentionally be vulnerable. It takes a lot of work, but it's very rewarding, because the truth of the matter is being mental and having everything together and having all the answers and saying it just the right way, in terms of a mental transmission of information, isn't very powerful. The power comes when we share the heart along with the mind, because the mind struggles to understand what the heart has always known. And when the two work together, it's a dynamic duo that creates an opening with people of being human, of being real. And gosh, you know what? I learn the most from people who are just being very real, very honest. They're not pretentious. They're not trying to prove a point. They're just being themselves. And it makes me want to be like them, because I want to be like myself, like them being like themselves.
That is a huge common denominator in all of the legends that I interview, is the heart. They're centered on the heart. They're focused on the heart. They've grounded themselves into the heart message, into what's good for them on a heart-centered level, what's good for other people. I want to ask you, because many people want to know, okay, where did the legends start? Give me the background, the story. Let's go back a couple of years, a couple of decades. What was the small little version of you that you knew you were different, or you knew that you were going to make a difference? Can you take us back to that and tell us a little bit about the younger version of you and part of your growing into this legacy?
Yeah, well, I was 11 years old when President Kennedy was assassinated. Tells my age. I've been around for a few years, but that incident that happened shattered my young childhood view of the world. Up until that point, I thought the world was about love and about family and caring and good things. I didn't realize that there was danger and corruption and violence, and it changed everything inside of me. But instead of making me negative, it pushed me forward into wanting to understand human nature and wanting to understand my own feelings of sadness and devastation, because he was my biggest hero. And so it led me into a place of wanting to understand and feel what was it that was so impactful and powerful for me about him. And it's not necessarily about a political party or or any side. It's about the character and quality of a person. And although I didn't know about some of the behind the scenes with him, there was enough character in him that I discovered that integrity was really important, and honor, and courage, and compassion, and humanity, and humility. And so it led me into a process of going to school, but I didn't finish my school. I got invited to work with Werner Erhard many years ago, and as a production manager for some of the incredible transcendental talent that he was bringing into the organization at the time. So I was Buckminster Fuller's production manager. So when Werner Erhard invited Bucky Fuller to come and do events with him, I was working with Bucky and setting up the events for him. And he was talk about a legacy. This man was a world-class scholar, theologian, engineer, remarkable human being. He was like the best grandfather I could ever have. He was like 85. I think I was like 20. I don't remember, but I remember doing 9,000 person events for him and just being terrified that I was going to do a terrible job. And I remember one morning we got this job at the Cow Palace, and the night before they had a whole bunch of cows on display, and so there were flies everywhere. And I had flies the morning of this event with Bucky Fuller with 9,000 people. I was in total devastation. The union guys wouldn't turn on the Advent machines until they got their chocolate donuts. So I remember running into Bucky's dressing room saying, "Bucky, I'm dying. I'm going to fail at this event. It's impossible. It's impossible for me to do this." And I'll never forget what he said to me, JB. And this is about the power of legacy and the power of being real and authentic. He said, "Okay," he said, "the impossible. Now, how possible is that?" And I said, "It's impossible." He said, "Right." He said, "Now, but what about the possible?" He says, "Is that possible?" And I said, "Yeah, it's more possible than the impossible." He said, "Okay." He said, "Okay, Val Jon, who determines what's impossible or possible?" And I thought for a second. I was like, "Huh." And he said, "You know what? Not only do I think it's possible that you're going to do a great event today, I know you're going to do a great event today, because only somebody who was as worried as you and as terrified and is so concerned about the quality of this event to come to me, only that kind of person would have the kind of dedication to turn things around and make them work." And I never forgot it, JB, ever.
What an incredible message. What a beautiful human being. For those of you who don't know Buckminster Fuller, please go do a little bit of research. You will be blown away with his legacy that he has left behind. I love that story because what it shows is that legacy leaders love to empower other people. He just didn't yell at you and tell you that you were wrong. He didn't tell you how to fix it. He didn't call somebody else and, disempower you. He literally gave you back the torch, the baton, whatever you needed, the ability to think through and empower yourself that has lasted for decades. And I absolutely love that. And I know something you're going to say today is going to do the same for our guests. I so appreciate you sharing that. And I really do, going back to JFK, is that we don't have enough people to look up to nowadays. There's not enough people that we are noticing or emulating their qualities and their values so that we feel like they are creating a legacy that we would love to emulate. Again, really why we're doing the show is because folks, I want you to see that there are people out there in the world who are really doing incredible things. And not everybody knows about them. Val Jon, you are so humble and you are so extraordinary and such an incredible individual. I think people don't even realize how educated, skilled, powerful, the things that you've done. Again, you're so humble. So I want to say thank you. If you were going to plant a seed in somebody today who was like you were back when you were 20 and have them leave this show feeling seen, heard, and believed in, what would you say?
Yeah, get yourself around people who are inspiring, people who are authentic, people who are making a difference. Place yourself in front of them, be with them, learn from them. Put yourself in programs that will open you and have you set your ego aside and have you do the work of being vulnerable. Also, trust yourself. Trust that you have within you what it takes in order to be capable and able and powerful. And that you can make a difference in the world. Trust yourself that you can do it, and place yourself in front of the people who believe in you and who trust you and give you the kind of messages that uplift you, but they uplift you in an honest and authentic way. It's not all about love and great, wonderful things. It's about the hard work and maybe the shadow side of ourselves and taking ourselves on, but do it in a way that deepens you and has you come into contact with that deeper part of yourself that does have the mentorship and the mastery. And in terms of my brilliance and the things that you just said about me, I owe everything that I know and everything that I've ever learned to the mentors who gave me their legacies, and to all of the thousands of people who've privileged me with the opportunity of working with them, because I hold every one of them in my heart, because they're the real teachers and mentors. And it's by having all of those people inside of us that it inspires us and it drives us forward and it raises us up and it has us be able to function beyond our own limitations.
Yeah, but you were out on the field with the catcher's mitt open. You were willing to receive. And I think a lot of times people are literally in the midst of legends or around people who really want to lift them up, and they're not willing to receive. And I just really want to point out to our listeners that your gifting or graciously saying that the other mentors in your life have made you who you are, again, that's so powerful, because you were there to receive. You were there open. You were willing to say, okay, I'm a student. I'm ready to learn. Tell me what I don't already know. And that's a very powerful place to be in, when you say, I think I know what I know, but I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, and the other thing is you don't need to learn from world-renowned mentors. It can be your family. It could be your husband or your wife, your children. It could be your teachers, your coworkers, your friends. You can learn from nature. Everything is an opportunity to take ourselves into the deeper facets of who we are and be able to open us to our own legacy and to our own profound and impactful futures.
It's such a great point, because now more than ever, with social media, with television, and with all the things we have access to, we can see all the great works, the great history stories, the documentaries, the podcasts. There are so many things that we have access to that we never did before. Anything that you are interested in, anything that is your jam or your realm or your forte, is available out there. You just have to go looking for it. Would you say that when it comes to taking in information and then using that to take action is one of the key steps in building a legacy?
No. Yes. Yeah. I think for me, it's, can I set aside the conclusion that I think I already know? And the contrary, can I set aside the doubts that I can't learn? So I think it was Kierkegaard who said there's two ways for human beings to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't so, and the other is to refuse to believe what is so, or to continue to believe what isn't so. And so for me, it's setting aside either intentional or innocent arrogance, and setting aside self-doubt and being open to the learning process. And that's really all it takes. It isn't very complicated.
I love it so much. Well, one of the great things about being a legend in our Legacy Lounge is that we ask you to give some great training, some great tips and tools and tricks. And we are going to take you over into our private mastermind, where we have some backstage passes for some of our guests to join us. And you're going to give us some real training and some real tips and some real strategies. And that's what I love about you, offering and giving and supporting. And so, any last words before you jump into our private area and I say thank you to our audience here tonight?
No, I'm just grateful to be here and to have the opportunity. And the platforms that you're providing, JB, are very important in the world, because people are in a space of isolation and confusion right now. And to be able to have this venue and forum, I think is essential for people to continue to stay in touch with the goodness of life and the opportunities that we have if we work together and set aside the judgments and the prejudice and the fears, and be willing to reach out and connect with one another. So these kinds of programs that you're offering are essential and vital in the world, and I'm just privileged to be a part of it.
Well, thank you so much. I will put up on the screen where people can find you and get more access to you, your website, and your information so that people can learn more about what you're doing. Truly brilliant, truly heart-centered, doing some amazing things, caring so much about individuals, building a legacy, reflecting legacy values and principles each and every day. It's an honor to be in your presence and be a friend of yours. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I'll see you in a few moments.
Okay, blessings.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Legacy Lounge is designed to give you that spark, that ignition point, that real knowing that if legacy is something you want to do, you can do it. All of our legacy leaders are showing ways that they started out with maybe humble beginnings or big aspirations or maybe some trials and tribulations and some stumbling blocks. But over time, something ignited in them that they decided that they wanted to live in servitude and support and encouragement and helping others gain their own legacy status. If you'd like to know more about what we're doing at the Legacy Lounge, please check us out on our website. And if you want to join our secret backstage area where you can learn more and even talk to Val Jon and ask some questions, go to legacylounge.life or check us out and see who we've got next week on the show, or find out some of the recordings we have from previous shows. We love talking with you, so if you want to reach out to us, we're always looking for feedback and we're always looking for your support. Now, one of the things that we do through our parent program, Ignite, is that we help kids and we help children build their legacy through building schools. We are building schools around the globe, and we're always looking for people to help with those schools because it gives children a springboard to start their own lives. And so if you'd like to donate to one of our schools, go to our website, ignitehumanity.life/donate, and you could be a part of creating a legacy for kids. Every dollar you donate buys a brick in one of our schools, and you could be a part of knowing that you helped build a legacy in someone else's life. Now, we want to make sure that you're fully served and you feel complete and that everything we do at the lounge supports you. So if you'd like to let us know any comments or feedback, we're happy to hear from you. And I would just like to share in conclusion, legacy is not about ego, and it's really not about status or prestige. When you decide that you want to build a legacy, it's because you know that one day you may no longer be here, but what you have left behind will still make a difference in people's lives. If everything that I have worked towards is just gone after I'm gone, that would be a travesty to the work and the effort that I put in. And so thinking about how I can create a legacy, which means I have to think about the people beyond my lifetime, my children, the next generation, the future, even people outside of where I live in other countries and other situations. That legacy seems so important to me because obviously I want my life not to be in vain and not to be forgotten. And so putting those pieces into play, that my ideas and incentives and mission and impact on other people could last beyond my lifetime, is really a truly wonderful and incredible opportunity. And I'd like you to inspire you to do the same. All right, well, we'll see you next week in the Legacy Lounge. And if you want to know more about what we're doing, go check out our website, and we'll see you next week.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.